Watch the ride.
Hey everybody, sorry if you can hear a load of noise going on in the background, but unfortunately I can't do a lot about it and I'm under the time restraints at the moment because the thing I want to talk about I've actually just sold, so I need to go to the post office and send it to its new owner. But I want to talk about this with this because this is such a perfect example of all the stages and iterations that it takes to make something and why something costs what it does. You know, like these clocks, this is one I've just recently added to my store. This is hand painted. The amount of work that goes into this, to clean the disc, to prepare it, to hand paint it, to just do everything that I do. And I'm selling this for about 70, 80 pounds. 70 pounds, 75, I think, something like that. And it includes postage and packing. That's clock 88. I've got a handful in the room in storage that I've made, waiting to be sold, that are on the store. But as you can see there, 88, I've made at least 80 and sold at least 80 clocks. And that's absolutely fantastic that, you know, so many of the things I've created are out there and will be out there for years to come. And I also like to make other things. And if you know, in the past I made this giant dragonfly and it took me about 2 weeks to make. There's an entire playlist on making this thing. And then I sold it for £400. It wasn't a fantastic return in time investments and costs and everything, but I'm just happy that that's out there somewhere now. I don't know where. Someone bought it and I haven't heard from it since. So I hope it's somewhere being looked after and enjoyed by lots of people. But obviously people saw that and thought it was fantastic and said, well, why don't you make something that's smaller? You know, and I thought, well, actually, I could do that. I could make small dragonflies and small things. I stuck with the dragonfly thing because I knew about proportions and stuff and I really like dragonflies. And I had an idea that I was going to do it out of nuts and bolts. And I promised myself that I would never show anyone this. But you are going to see it because I want you to realise what goes in. You don't just make things, okay? God, it's awful. It's terrible. About a year or so ago, when I only had a MIG welder, I basically tried to do this. Making things with a MIG welder is easy when they're larger because the welds are larger, and if you want to have nice neat welds, well, you might need to grind them and things like that. So if it's bigger, it's easier because you've got more access. So when you make something small, it actually takes a lot more time and a lot more effort. Well, as you can see with this, I had some serious spatter issues, I had some serious welding issues, I had serious issues full stop. This is just, you know, a concept of the idea, and it really set me back, so I was like, wow, I'm never going to do this with MIG. It's just, I mean, nowadays, now I know a lot more, yeah, I could probably do a much better job, but I just realised if I want to make things this small, it's going to have to be TIG. Didn't think that would happen at any near point. And a subscriber of mine surprised me when I talked about this in video and said, you know, one day I'd like to get a TIG welder. About a week later, maybe even less than that, a few days later, my TIG welder just arrived in the post. And I was like, what? There's a video on that. It nearly brought me to tears, actually, that someone would do that for me, because I realised what it would allow me to do. It would allow me to learn TIG and it would allow me to do more things. But maybe people don't realise the time scale of how long these things take to make. Because people are like, oh, have you done much more with the TIG welder? And I'm like, yeah, I'm still learning, because I had to completely teach myself how to TIG weld. So, had a TIG welder and thought, let's try this again. And this one doesn't look that bad. It actually looks very, very nice. I mean, the improvement is obvious, okay? This one's made out of normal steel that I've heat treated the wings with a blowtorch to get them a nice blue. It's been clear coated, but why did I not sell this one to the public? Well, there was a couple of reasons why I didn't sell this one to the public. One is because when I made the really terrible one, and I showed Reno this, she took pity on it, made it some paper wings, and it was sat on our side for a long time, and it was sat there glaring at me as a thing that was like, you need to get better at this. So when it came round to I'd made this, and I was reasonably happy with it, but I'll show you in a minute why I wasn't prepared to sell it. I thought, wouldn't it be nice to give that to Reno, because she always supports me and believes in me and just tells me I'm, you know, she's very supportive, she's amazing. And I thought there would be something nice to show her, like, thank you for sticking by me with all this and believing in me for doing what I'm doing, even though, you know, we're up against it a little bit. You know, it's not necessarily the most realistic prospects, YouTube and doing metal art, but, so yes, I gave it to Reno. And it sits in our room and she thinks it's very cute. The amount of time that it takes to make one of these, it needs to be much better quality than this. Well, this isn't bad quality. The welds are just not as neat as I'd like them. This was TIG welded, if I remember rightly, but I was really learning at the time, and I've learned a lot of things since then. I also had problems with some porosity on the top of here, which I then ground afterwards, and I can't get that back to the same colour. Even with heat treating, it didn't seem to work, so it sticks out like a sore thumb. But mistakes in things like this are important because they show you how far you've come. So the one that I was happy enough to put up for sale and sold within a couple of days is this one. Very much like the steel one, but this is made in stainless steel. Between the steel one and the stainless steel one, I had to buy stainless steel and just start trying to weld it. And with that comes a lot of cost, because obviously you've got the stainless steel you have to buy, the filler rod, the electrodes, and the gas. Oh God, the gas. But I'm very happy with this one because we've got these nice, smooth, but organic looking welds on the back. There's no grinding on this. This is just pure weld. It took me an awful long time and learning an entirely new style of welding to get between this and this. And I think you can see the progression there. So I put this up for sale, including P&P, for £125. And I had a conference and I know they didn't mean it because they just didn't understand. That's basically what they were saying. I know they didn't mean it this way, but sometimes I get comments like this and I'm like, I don't mind if you don't want to buy something I make, and I really understand that what I make is kind of luxury because they're not cheap, because of the time that goes into them, and it's obviously it's just an ornament, an object. So I totally understand that, and I don't expect everyone to purchase one. That's why I like making the Metalworks videos, or liked making the Metalworks videos, because it was a way of sharing what I did with lots of people without them having to buy something. Well, unfortunately, YouTube took such a dislike to my channel at that point when I was doing motovlogging and Metalworks that it nearly killed my channel. I've managed to recover things, but it meant that I couldn't really do the Metalworks videos so much, so I sneak one in like this every now and then. So at the end of this video, I've got an idea for a video series, but I'll talk to that about that at the end of the video. Alone, this took 2 days to make. Cost me the material costs, it cost me the gas and all the electricity and all that stuff. And when you work out the profit from the time on top of that, I'm not making minimum wage selling this for £125. To turn this, because this is literally what it takes to make one of those, to turn that into one of those is not a case of 5 minutes. Because I didn't just go from steel to stainless steel. As I say, I had to learn to weld stainless steel. It is different, and mistakes happened. I mean, look, here's the start of one, and I welded the tail on, and the tail's not quite flat with the body. Does it matter? Actually, no. I've come to learn that things being slightly out actually makes things look more organic. If it's too even, it looks like a robot. And then I got to this one, stainless steel. As you can see, it's so nearly done. And then, like the light laser cannon thing out of the Matrix, when I was putting the final welds on the final leg, I accidentally went down it, and I put a line of melted beads down the edge of the threads where they're so thin it instantly destroyed them. And that really set me back because I was so annoyed that I'd put so much effort into making something like this, knowing that if I make one mistake along the way, I've completely screwed it up. I've since learned that there are ways of getting around stuff like this. I will be making a new leg and welding that on, and this will be another Dragonfly like the other one. Slightly different, because obviously every single one's slightly different. Like on this one, I went for more of a sort of a blended look on the top of here, but you won't see all that because obviously the wings will be welded on. And this applies to all people who make things, who are artistic or make and sell things. Yeah, the materials to make these things, that's only worth a few pounds. What you're paying for is the time and the skill it is taking that person to build to get to this and build this. And in my mind, when you point this out to most people, they go, actually, fair enough, I didn't realise there was that much went into it. That doesn't mean to say they're now going to go and buy one of your products. As I said, I know the luxury items, it's not for everyone. But at least don't criticise people's work just because you think that that is only worth what this is, negating everything that has to happen to turn that into this. And the same goes for the clocks and the things like that I make. They have a price because they've taken that much time, and I really probably should charge more. You know, as a fabricator, you're supposed to charge about £30 or £40 an hour. I, in making this, have earned less than minimum wage. So please understand that when I get a bit annoyed when someone turns around and says, oh, are you sure you're not charging a bit too much for that? No, I'm not. Okay, so now forget all the thing like the money and the business side of things. That applies to me because I'm self-employed. I'm a full-time YouTuber with less than 100,000 subscribers. If you look at this from someone who just wants to build things and learn things, here you go. Here's a year or so's worth of progression, going from MIG welding, where I had a basic understanding of it, and I was okay with it, but not with small stuff. And it required a TIG machine and all the other equipment, and then a lot of learning and a lot of practicing. And then you get to that. And then in another year's time, I might look back at that and go, wow, I could have done that, I could have done this, I could have this, see how much better I am at it now. But I like to see the progression, because it's the mistakes along the way that teach you the lessons to get it right. And I think this highlights the sort of person you have to be to do the things that creators do. You know, you start out and you make mistakes, and you don't let it hold you back, and you keep trying, and you try something harder, and then you make more mistakes, and God, that one hurt me. It will be a vindication when I get this one fixed. I will do it. And then even to go to the point of kind of from a distance looking like you've nailed it, but you know in your heart of hearts you really haven't. And then when you do, when you're like, yeah, that's at the point that I'm happy with, that feeling is amazing. It just takes perseverance and just getting on with it. It also takes a lot of money. And it's with a thanks to my Patreon supporters, who are going up the screen now, but also for the people that supported me through PayPal and through the Metalworks over the past couple of years. You are the ones who've allowed me to keep doing YouTube and keep, you know, going along and creating. I'm forever in your debt, and I hope that the videos and the clocks and things that I do sell somehow reimburse you for that. There's a lot of work and a lot of effort goes into everything that I do. I mean, also, like with YouTube, people don't see the effort that goes into making videos. You know, they just see record, make video. They don't see all the mistakes made before, and the learning and the skills and all that sort of stuff. And the time. You know, like, since today is Friday, and I gave myself a deadline of like 6 o'clock tonight, that I'm going to stop working. I'm going to have most of the weekend off. Since Monday morning until 6 o'clock Friday night, I've worked a minimum of about 75 hours. I've slept about 18. And that is what it takes to do what I do. Yeah, it's unrealistic. Yeah, some people say that my work isn't real work. Some people don't seem to class this as any different from YouTube, and it's like, well, this is completely different. But YouTube helps me have a customer basis to sell the things that I sell to. It would be really helpful if people who appreciate the work that I do, but don't necessarily or don't want to buy it or can't afford something, if you can at least help me share the things that I make to other people that might like them, that might get me a sale, that might get me the next sale, and it grows and grows. If I can sell everything I can make at the speed I can make it, I will be fine. Well, there you go. That's all I really wanted to say. It's not a rant, as I say. I totally understand if some people don't understand why things cost what they cost. If you've not made something, if you've not seen something being made or understood the time it takes, you know, you say, oh, well, you just weld those together, and you just weld that to that, and then you stick those on, and you weld those, and then you weld that on the end, and you cut the wings out of that, and then you just weld it together, and then you blow it the hot gun thing and spray some spray on it. Done, isn't it? Why is that not 30 quid? And it's just like, no one who ever said that has ever made anything in their life. Now, the thing I want to talk about, and I think this would be fun, as I mentioned, YouTube was not a huge fan of my Metalworks videos. It really closed down my channel, having that mixed content for some reason. But I do like doing the odd video, so I thought, well, what fits to the YouTube format, and I think would be fun for a lot of people, and be fun for me, and something will come out the other end of it that I can sell, and it won't necessarily be that expensive. And I had an idea. So in the past, when you learn to weld, you'll find yourself suddenly seeing things that are broken and going, oh, I can fix that, or I can make a new one of those, and you can just weld something together, and it doesn't need to be the best thing in the world, but it'll do the job. I made a toilet roll holder a while ago when I was broke, and I was just like, I've got some steel in the garage, I'll just quickly make a toilet roll holder. And it took me about an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that, and now we have a toilet roll holder. Then my brother the other day needed a leaf grate, you know, for a little drain you have in your garden, just one of those like open mesh leaf grates that just stops hedgehogs and stuff falling down and the big twigs and stuff, but allows the water and most other stuff to go down there. So I quickly knocked one of those together out of some 6mm rod and with the TIG welder, and that's now doing its job in his garden. And I was thinking, there's so many things around the house that you could just make a version out of some steel, some sheets, some rods, maybe a cog or something, just whatever you've got lying around, basically MacGyver a household object. So my idea is this: in the comments of this video, I want people to comment things you'd like me to make in a video, an everyday household object, you know, like a towel rail or a toilet roll holder or, I don't know, a toast rack or something. Actually, might want to stick away from food, because I can't sell something that's supposed to be used for food if it's not food grade stuff, and I don't want people, so probably not food, not cups or something you eat or drink out of. Things you can use. Think of like something you're like, I'd love to see you make one of those out of whatever you can. By, drilling, screwing, welding, grinding, cutting, whatever you can think of. Then if people upvote the ones that they like, I'll pick either the top one or the toppest one that I think is reasonable and I think I can do. And then I'll just come in here, I'll turn the camera on and I'll make it. And then I'll make a relatively short video of me making it, and then the thing at the end, if it's any good, and even if it isn't, will go up for sale. And if it's really rubbish, it'll go up for virtually nothing. And if it's alright, well, it'll go up for a sort of reasonable price. Maybe I won't make it quite as much because I'm getting videos out of it as well, and the Patreon supporters will be helping support that. A lot of people won't have got to the end of this video. I'm sure the dislike button's been pressed quite a few times, and maybe people have said, "Oh, you're talking out your arse," or I don't know, that's shit. I can do better with a welding stick on a 5-foot pole. I don't know. But you get that on the internet. People make themselves feel better by trying to put others down, and if you let it affect you, it can really, really mess your head up. Thankfully, I've always been managing to skirt mostly above it. Anyway, for the people who did watch this far through, thank you. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say here. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you next time. If you enjoyed this video and the other content on the channel, please consider following the links in the description to show your support.